The administration of the President of the United States, Donald Trump, has informed European officials that they want to achieve a ceasefire in Ukraine by 20 April, wrote Bloomberg, citing its sources. The European Union was skeptical about Washington plans. In Brussels, they tend to believe that the first results of the peace talks will come most likely by the end of 2025. Europe is seriously concerned that Washington will start a dialogue with their aggressor without the participation of Ukraine and the European Union.
President Trump says that the killing should stop. Putin can stop the killing by stopping bombing Ukraine. This is doable if there is a will. It is clear that any deal behind our backs will not work. Any agreement will need also Ukraine and Europe being part of it, and this is clear that appeasement also always fails. So Ukraine will continue to resist and Europe will continue to back Ukraine.
The promise to end Russia's war against Ukraine as soon as possible was one of the key campaign promises of Donald Trump.
Zelensky wants to make a deal. I don't know if Putin does. He might not. I don't know. He should make a deal. I think he's destroying Russia by not making a deal. I think Russia's going to be in big trouble. You take a look at their economy, you take a look at the inflation in Russia.
Donald Trump announced this the day after his inauguration on the 21st of January, and already on 22nd in social networks, the White House Chief of Staff published an appeal to Putin and the Russian Federation.
Settle now and stop this ridiculous war. It's only going to get worse. If we don't make a deal soon, I will have no choice but to impose high tariffs, duties, and sanctions on everything Russia sells to the United States and other affected countries. Donald Trump, President of the United States, on Truth Social.
In addition to sanctions pressure, one of the strongest levers of influence on Russia, according to Donald Trump, could be a drop in global oil prices. During a speech via video call at the World Economic Forum in Davos, the President of the United States said that he would ask Saudi Arabia and the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries to lower the price of fuel. Then he said Russian Federation's war against Ukraine would end immediately. In the beginning of February, Donald Trump signed an executive order appointing retired Lieutenant General Kit Kellogg as the United States Special Envoy for Ukraine and Russia, and said that the United States made significant progress in relations between Russia and Ukraine.
I think the most important thing is President Trump's determination, strong action, quick decision-making, specificity, and making decisions from still a strong position. I think that's exactly what we need to get Putin to stop the war, to end the war, and to recognize that this was a very big mistake and we need to find a way to bring fair peace to Ukraine.
Another strategic track of Donald Trump's team is the settlement of the situation in the Middle East. During the election campaign, Trump repeatedly promised to stop the chaos in the region. Symbolically, the first foreign leader he invited to the White House was the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu. During his meeting, the President of the United States proposed to relocate about 2 million Palestinians from the Gaza Strip. Instead of ruins, modern residential and shopping and entertainment complexes should appear there, he said.
I think that Gaza maybe is a demolition site right now. If you look at Gaza, there's hardly a building standing, and the ones that are going to collapse.
Following the talks, Donald Trump promised that the United States would take control of the Gaza Strip and have Netanyahu carte blanche to release the hostages. Later, in response to Hamas' refusal to hold an exchange, the President of the United States promised the militants all hell. And the sixth exchange since the ceasefire between Israel and Hamas began took place. And Trump also lifted restrictions on the supply of heavy aerial bombs to Israel. A shipment of Mk-84 bombs from the United States has already arrived in Israel.
Peace through strength. You understand that, right? It's called peace through strength. You know, they contracted for those weapons a long time ago in the Biden administration, and then Biden wouldn't deliver the weapons. But I look at it differently. I say peace through strength. They were sitting there.
It's not just the Gaza Strip that's the focus of President Trump's administration. The Arab states, especially Saudi Arabia, have enough resources to rebuild the Gaza Strip, but also Washington is interested in Saudi investment and the American economy. And certainly at the center of the White House's attention is Iran. Trump has stated his desire to conclude a new nuclear agreement with Tehran. Iran's nuclear program, the U.S. plans to bring under strict control. In the meantime, Donald Trump signed a memorandum to renew maximum economic pressure on Iran.
Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. We don't want to be tough on Iran. We don't want to be tough on anybody, but they just can't have a nuclear weapon.
The first decision of Donald Trump as the President of the United States touched upon economic changes. The media called the introduction of additional duties on goods from Canada, Mexico, and China the beginning of a trade war. The leaders of the states promised to respond with mirror measures.
The Chinese government calls on the United States to stop the politicization and turning trade and economic issues into weapons, stop harassing or crushing Chinese companies. China will take necessary measures to protect the legitimate rights and interests of Chinese companies.
The new format of relations with Europe is another vector of the Trump administration's international policy. The White House chief of staff is ready to help Europe completely abandon Russian gas. The United States can provide Europeans with 100% American fuel, he assured partners. But in addition to energy security, Europeans should ensure their defense capability. Europe is not doing enough for its own security and is losing its freedom, Trump believes.
We heard his call for European nations to step up. We are and we will. NATO allies pledged 40 billion euros in military aid for Ukraine in 2024 and then went on to deliver 50 billion. The majority, nearly 60% of that aid to Ukraine last year came from European nations. We did more on defence spending and will do more. So last year saw an increase of 20% in the defence spending of the non-US NATO nations. Europe is stepping up.
With his first executive orders, Donald Trump suspended international development aid to other countries for 80 days, began a massive downsizing of officials, imposed a state of emergency on the border with Mexico, and restricted migration. At the same time, Congress passed a law making it easier to detain and deport illegal migrants. Reported by Alexandra Zaslavitz, Larissa Petruk, UATV News. On January 20th, Donald Trump officially assumed the office of the 47th President of the United States. This marks his second term, and it seems he is determined not to waste any time. Immediately after the inauguration, Trump signed a series of executive orders. First, he abolished 79 directives from the Biden administration and temporarily suspended all U.S. foreign aid programs for 90 days to review whether they align with U.S. political goals. President Trump is actively pursuing a course aimed at reversing the policies of his predecessor, according to the New York Times.
Trump is responding to the demands of U.S. citizens who are tired of the weak policies of the Democrats, which they see as ineffective. He also views this as having a religious, even messianic component, if you will.
For the first time in U.S. history, a president declared a national emergency in the energy sector. Trump promised to significantly increase oil and gas production. He also authorized drilling in the Arctic National Wildfire Refuge and overturned Biden's green energy policies, which aimed to reduce pollution and provided benefits for electric vehicle manufacturers.
The first thing Trump will focus on is implementing domestic priorities. He outlined them both in his inaugural speech and previously. These will be energy priorities, as he put it. Drill, baby, drill. Many environmental regulations will be abolished.
Among the new decisions signed by 47th President of the United States was the country's withdrawal from the Paris Climate Agreement and the World Health Organization. This marks Trump's second attempt to leave it. 5 years ago, he criticized the organization for its ineffective response to the COVID-19 pandemic, lack of reforms, and excessive dependence on China. However, his earlier decision was not implemented, as Joe Biden reversed it and reinstated U.S. membership in the World Health Organization.
So we paid $500 million to World Health when I was here, and I terminated it. China, with 1.4 billion people, we have 350. Nobody knows what we have because so many people came in illegally, but let's say we have 325. They had 1.4 billion. They were paying 39 million, we were paying 500 million. It seemed a little unfair to me.
The World Health Organization expressed hope that US would reconsider its decision and stated its readiness for constructive dialogue with the administration of the 47th US president. According to Reuters, the US had been the largest donor to World Health Organization.
The World Health Organization regrets the announcement that the United States of America intends to withdraw from the organization. WHO plays a crucial role in protecting the health and security of the world's people, including Americans, by addressing the root causes of disease, building stronger health systems, and detecting, preventing, and responding to health emergencies, including disease outbreaks, and often in dangerous places where others cannot go.
According to Voice of America, as part of the America First policy, the U.S. Secretary of Commerce plans to examine the causes of the trade deficit and propose solutions. Trump has already indicated that he is considering imposing 25% tariffs on goods from Mexico and Canada. In response to these statements, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen noted that Europe could become involved in a global race to exhaustion using economic tools such as sanctions, export controls and tariffs. Reported by Alexandra Zaslavets, Nikita Skoblikov, UATV News.